Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
I'm Chris Williams from Cyclone Fanatic and a proud Iowa State graduate from the class of 2007. No one shows up like Iowa State fans.
And Cyclones support Cyclones on and off the field.
Your gift can provide scholarships to students, fund groundbreaking research. We could even drum up opportunities for the marching band. Visit MoveWhatMatters.com to learn how you can make an impact today.
Chris Williams, Brent Blum, from the Wild Rose Casino Studio. It's Williams and Blum, presented by Mechdyne, on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.
What is up? It is the 4th of May. The Sunday pod, presented as always by our friends at Mailbag. My name is Chris Williams, joined as always by Brent Blum. Quiet weekend in sports.
Yeah, I think we're two of the people who probably have never seen all the Star Wars movies.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Never.
Not me either.
I mean, I've seen like bits and pieces of some of them.
Same.
But it's like, I know there's the Darth Vader guy. I know there's the Skywalker guy. I think that the Vader guy was the guy's dad. There's that little thing that walks around like a, it looks like Alf.
Yoda? Or R2-D2?
Well, no, R2-D2 looks like the Tin Man.
The reason I said it's May the 4th.
Yeah, I know what you were doing, you nerd.
I don't watch them. I mean, I saw the one with the when it came out like 2000 or 99, and they had that Jar Jar Binks, and I was like, "What is this?"
You went to the theater for that?
I did. Who was the lady in that? The lead actress. She was a big deal at the time. Anywho, yeah, it's a quiet weekend, which is very appreciated.
So quiet that we decided just to do a mailbag episode tonight, and we'll probably carry this on Wednesday because I asked our Patreon members, which we appreciate all of our Patreon members. If you're one of those people who just listens to the pod, you don't subscribe to anything that we do, these people are basically funding half of what we do, so we appreciate them, and I hope everybody does. It's our business wouldn't even be here if it weren't for our subscription drive that we did when COVID hit. So thank you to all these people. So we want to give them a shout out today. You can, if you're a Patreon subscriber, it's the same thing as having a membership to our premium message board, except it all just gets delivered to your email because a lot of people don't like the forums, and I know a lot of people do like the forums. So it's just giving people a choice. But I put it out to them, and we seriously got like 50 responses within like 2 hours.
Perhaps it's in there, but I did want to address something, and that was the whole unfortunate gambling thing coming back in the news on Friday.
Yeah.
Do we have anything on that? I just want to say something real quick. Super unfortunate. I understand how the news works. Listen, we work in the news. The fact that got national headlines off the same investigation that happened literally 3.5 years ago.
It's so dumb.
It's just, and then you're gonna get me on a rant here, but the jumpy headlines and those graphics now that just say, Iowa State and gambling investigation again. It was just very frustrating because those people that were named in that have already, by the way, either been let go, and they all got let go eventually. They really did. Now, one of them came back because it was 3.5 years ago, but that didn't need to happen. I mean, I get why it happened, but it was just for your casual observer, they thought it happened again, and it was just very sad.
Yeah.
Very unfortunate.
The amount of random people on Facebook that are posting like, oh, look, it didn't learn their lesson the first time. Like, no, this is all really old news.
Which we found out was potentially an illegal investigation anyway.
Yeah.
And still, C-Dub, Iowa State and Iowa, I believe, are the only Power 4 programs that have been disciplined ever by the NCAA in this whole era of
It's
gambling.
probably the only ones that ever will, too.
Makes you wonder.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder. And the other part of that, it's going to get sillier and sillier for college athletes to get caught up in gambling in any capacity with the monster NIL contracts they're having. Like that, honestly, like if there's one positive from the NIL era, is the involvement of gambling people has got to be at a minimum, because what is the value of, maybe a couple $100s when a lot of these players are making mid six figures, millions? Just a caveat.
Thank you. I wouldn't have even brought that up.
I was just it frustrated me because it's like I knew everybody involved there, and they're all good people, and they weren't trying to. They were just anyway. It was just very frustrating that they got their name brought up again after being literally let go 3 years ago.
And all it does is like feed trolls and stuff too.
Yeah.
It's like it. Like I couldn't agree more.
Yeah. Just wanted to say
the problem is too, and I've said this before. This is what I hate the most about our industry is like the Finley, Nikki Moody thing is a perfect example that I can come up with this, where like when those headlines first came out, the amount of time that was spent talking and digging and overanalyzing was, let's say it was at a 10. Okay. Well, when it comes out that there's nothing here,
0.
It maybe gets a 1.
Yeah.
Right. Like we do this in our industry all the time. And like how much time and space has been spent covering the illegal investigation and all that stuff compared to the punchy headline? It's just bad. But telling you guys, this is why you got to support locally owned media, because it just the facts and it doesn't matter as much as it did 20 years ago. And there's fewer editors at these places. There are fewer workers. Everybody's working more for less. People get tired. They have fewer resources than they've ever had. Like this is why you have to like support the things that matter to you, because it's not going to change in our market. Like it's not all of a sudden going to be like, these giant conglomerates are going to just dump millions of dollars into revitalizing local news in Des Moines. It's not going to happen.
Well, then the second
now
part
I'm
of that,
on my soapbox.
No, but on the second part of that is without some questioning of the Department of Criminal Investigation.
Yeah,
like it could have been a lot worse for those athletes. By the way,
you have to be able to stand up to power.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, that whole thing, unfortunately, it's still, public perception costing Iowa State, and I don't know if there's ever a lawsuit from those athletes and what came down of that, but
I know they were kicking it around for a while. I would assume they're still working on it, but I don't. It seems like a long time ago, but who knows? And
it'd be nice for the state of Iowa to say, hey, that was our bad too at some point, but I digress.
Don't get me started. All right. So yeah, I asked our Patreon subscribers to give us some questions, and we have like dozens upon dozens of responses. So full disclosure, we are not going to get to all your questions in one podcast. We haven't even gone through these because we like to be put on the spot a little bit. We will do another mailbag episode, God willing. The news cycle stays the way we want it to, and that's calm on Wednesday. That is the plan. Next Sunday, I will probably be out. We'll have to do our show next week because I'm taking my little girl down to the Kansas Speedway and doing all that. I don't think you want me recording from the camper. It seems pointless. So
yeah.
Well, it would be fun actually. I could that
don't worry about it.
That freaking Starlink internet, man. You can do anything with that. It's truly unbelievable.
I could just join you down there.
Come on down, Bubba.
Let's go.
Come on down. All right, so let's just start clear at the bottom with the people who asked us first. Okay.
Let's go.
And again, we are presented as always by our friends at MacDime. Want to give them some love. Jack is in Woodstock, Georgia. I drove by Woodstock, Georgia last year when I went down to get my dog.
That's not the Woodstock. It would be New York.
Correct.
Yeah.
I thought the same thing when I drove by it. I was like, God, that would be really like humid.
That'd be random.
Yeah. Does the lack of shooting going into next year scare you guys at all, or do you trust TJ that he's going to make it work? This could be a similar team to that VCU team we played down in Orlando in 2023. I haven't thought about that team particularly, Jack. I do think that I would put this team more like the team 2 years ago than the one from last year. Lack of shooting, to what degree? I think that it's still pretty good as far as a shooting team compared to the first two Otzelberger teams.
Yeah, that's no question.
Right. So it's not like they're terrible. It's just you don't. I thought they were underwhelming as far as the shooting team goes last year. So I don't know. I just want them to be efficient as far as that goes. What about you?
Yeah, and so I mean, if you just look on its face, you're going, well, wait a second. You're losing Iowa State's best shooter in Curtis Jones. You're not really replacing him with anybody. So, like, I get it, like 100%.
Yeah. I mean, it won't be as on paper as good of a shooting team
as
last year.
That guy had an unbelievable year, and Iowa State's not going to have another Curtis Jones. But let me remind you about this, which I bet people didn't realize this, old Chris Williams. Our fella, Nathan Heisey, finished Big 12 play at 41% in conference play.
Good point, buddy.
Right? Like, I think sometimes Nate slips under the radar because he had a bit of a slow start at Iowa State, but he's now a sixth-year guy, essentially. He's a grown man playing now against a lot of 18 and 19-year-olds again. Like, Iowa State's got the old guy with Nate Heisey, who shot it great. So he, again, gives you something that I don't think people are realizing. He shot it great down the stretch. Milan, we think, will take another jump up. Taman, when healthy 2 years ago, shot it at 38, 39%. Now, he was hurt all of last year, and the percentage dropped. And quite honestly, I think Taman's a big question mark for this team in a good way. I think his upside is still really good. He took a step back offensively on purpose going into last year, wanting to get the ball to Keyshawn and Curtis and all the other weapons. Now, I think Taman can be more aggressive. You look at Lipsey's numbers as a sophomore; they were first team All Big 12 good, and so he gets more like that with more opportunities, and he can be really good. I think Joshua, he'll have all summer to work on the three ball. That's what he's going to focus on. That's his meal ticket to the NBA. I think he becomes an increased threat. And then what we don't know, but we think we know, is Jamarian Bateman's going to come in and be able to shoot the ball. I mean, he just played in the Iverson Classic. I think it was this weekend. Was dominant again. This is not your typical, hey, we hope it works out type of thing. I think they're counting on Jamarian Bateman to be a guy who can come in and knock down shots. So, all that said, yeah, on paper, not as good as last year, but I think the blend here is really good. The way Heisey came in, I think Taman is due for a really good year if he shoots it back at a normal percentage. And then of the entire team, if you go to practice for the last 2.5 years, Momcilovic is another level. And if he gets some confidence and gets some more strength and bulk, I do think he's a player that can do 18 or 20 a game points.
I do too. And you just saw the glimpses of Milan last year where he took it to a different level.
And it wasn't enough. It wasn't consistent enough. And the Mississippi game was the example of when he oftentimes, again, I don't want to pick on Milan, but he went up against older, more athletic guys. He tended to struggle. When he was athletically superior, like in the first round game against Lipscomb, dominated the game because his skills were off the charts. If he is athletic enough to let his skills take over, look out. And I think 22 is going to have a monster junior season. So, yeah, I mean, technically, I do think Iowa State's going to take a step back, three-point shooting-wise. But I don't know. I think as a whole, I think this team could be just as well-rounded. I really do.
I care more about the efficiency number than I do just the pure shooting thing. And like Nelson's thing, like, is a good example where you just look at his shooting numbers and it's not very good, but then you do that free throw rate stat that you gave us, and that kind of changes everything. Like you have to, it's kind of the old Isaiah Brockington thing, right? Like, oh, you're not supposed to shoot mid-range twos, but but if you make 70% of them, then it's kind of different. Like
you're at the end of the day, and I think sometimes we get caught up in this. You're not replacing 3-pointers; you're replacing points.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it doesn't matter necessarily how you get there. You got to replace the points. Now, a 3-pointer is the most efficient shot when it goes in. But if you can manufacture ways around it and guard and create turnovers that lead to buckets, it all adds up the same. So I still think this team is going to be fun, and excited to see them this summer get healthy, first and foremost.
Jared says, what, in your opinion, is needed at Iowa State to cement us into relevancy in athletics for the foreseeable future? I'm going to assume that he isn't insinuating that they haven't been relevant, because I would argue that this is the greatest time ever for Iowa State athletics. So I'm going to assume that's not the point he's making. I think he's probably leaning into, the NIL thing, the revenue share,
musical chairs realignment, Super Leagues.
Well, here's the good news, and I don't think, for the sake of this show, we should just go into all of that stuff that we have spent so much time on. That's kind of why we're doing a mailbag, is to get off of that topic. But I will say, I'm you hell of a lot better chance to remain relevant, your words, in the foreseeable future now compared to what it would have been had this all happened 10 years ago. You have these national brands now. Your stadium's bigger. Your fan base is bigger, right? Like, so what has to happen? Well, clearly you've got to find money. We think that the state needs to get involved. Like, there's all that stuff, but the fact that this is why I'm so like, if Matt Campbell or TJ Otzelberger leaves, could Iowa State still be good? Absolutely. Like, no doubt. Go and hire Nate Shieldhouse and he could come back and do a great job. I don't know. Like, it's not all, but why do you think I'm always hammering, like, keep those guys? Because we know you're going to be good as long as they're there, and being good has never been more important for the future. And the fact that gone to 4 straight NCAA tournaments, you are, you just won the most games in your football program's history. You're sending players to the NFL. Like, that's really important when it comes to all this stuff going forward. At the end of the day, you've got to be able to keep winning, and money is the root of that. So, that's where people who pay grades much higher than mine have to figure all that out. But without getting into that whole conversation, Brent, I think Iowa State's in good shape as far, like, whatever that relevancy term means, I guess, because I think that they've been incredibly relevant. And I think in this new Big 12, they're not going to drop off.
Yeah, it's keep Campbell, keep Otzelberger, and then have as much funding as possible.
And I think both will stay at Iowa State a long time if they think they can win.
And that's where the funding comes in. I mean, literally,
correct.
That's exactly where the funding
comes in. But I do
in.
think that, like, they're competitors, and if it's just like, I got a butter knife here at a gunfight, like, you can't expect them to stay. But they've both proven to be very loyal. Like, TJ could have gotten 7 or 8 jobs the last 2 years. Matt's turned down NFL jobs, right? Like, they've both been very loyal. You have to find a way to make the funding work for them.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this point for both of them, they have proven their loyalty. I don't think you can question it anymore. I think if those two were to leave, there was an extracurricular circumstance that caused it to happen. I think it's that simple. I mean, both have turned down, quote unquote, way bigger jobs than Iowa State. Now, not in their minds, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So that's
absolutely.
And then quite honestly, guys, and I don't mean this to be political. You know me, I'm never political on the show, but you're rooting for a congressional intervention here for the good of the Big 12 and the ACC. You are. Because if it continues on this path where, I mean, just look how good the SEC was in basketball this year. That's not a coincidence. Like, we're going down a path where the Big 10 and the SEC are going to lap those other two leagues in revenue just based on factors not Iowa State's fault. And so You're going to need NIL intervention in some capacity, or else this is a runaway train, and then it's going to be harder for Iowa State. And that's where. But again, at the end of the day, it's keeping Campbell and keeping Otzelberger around. You know what? I had this thought real quick because I want to get off my chest. Again, this is not going to take too long.
No, it's okay.
What would happen in the Iowa business community, and I'll just say state office, if Des Moines got an NBA franchise? You know, how exciting would that be? You just think about the institutional support that would come in from all of the businesses, all of the, maybe there's tax abatements, maybe there's an entertainment tax, there's all these things. Hey, we got a professional team in Des Moines. Look at us. Look how cool this is for entertainment.
I know where you're going here, and I love it.
Do you know what the second most popular sport in America is?
College football. You got two of them.
Like, at some point, like West Virginia literally fired Neil Brown after they got a promise from their state government that you were treat our football program like a professional team. And then they got a bunch of money from the state and the university to fire Neil Brown, keep up an NIL and all these things. At some point, we got to change the narrative from, it's paying NIL to keeping a professional, basically a tourism influx of cash in Iowa and Iowa State in our state competitive. And again, I think we've reframed this the wrong way of, we're paying the athletes. It's no, you're keeping an economic engine in the state, just like when the Montreal Expos left Montreal. I mean, you got to look at it that way here, not we're giving somebody an extra $500,000.
The problem is, in our sport, is the polarization thing of, it's just I don't trust like our legislatures even like, I'm an Iowa fan.
I don't
and they'll
either.
view it as helping out Iowa State.
I don't either. And I don't
and
say
vice
this,
versa. Like
I don't say
that's
this
the
as
problem in college athletics is it's not the best example is the European soccer, where all of a sudden you had these Manchester United fans that were like, well, I don't want to hurt Newcastle. Like we don't want to just kick these teams out that we've been playing for 100 years. We like that's part of the fun, right? Like with college athletics, our industry is not intellectual enough to do that. They can't. You just think about yourself in this business, and that's why it sucks.
Yeah, it's going to take some legislators in Des Moines that have some tenacity and some fortitude to do something here.
God damn it! Now I'm all pissed off.
Good question. By the way, Newcastle's owned by the Saudis now, so they're not a good example for that. Right. I'm not going to say it.
Honestly, though, so I've gotten really into Formula One racing. Okay.
Yeah.
And
I watched today. Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yes.
Where you've got 4 or 5 teams that can win. You've got like 3 or 4 teams that can compete, and 1 or 2 that just never have a chance. But and I kind of I have a team on the top of the field that I root for, and at the mid to bottom that I root for. Red Bull and Williams. Those are my 2 teams. Have been my whole life. And it's funny, my daughter Elise is 5, and she watches these races, and she knows who we root for, the Red Bull and Williams cars. And she'll go, like the Ferrari's in front. And she'll go, do we like him? And I'm like, we like everybody. That's just how I view that sport. Like, I don't want the Haas teams to just wreck. Right?
For a very boring race.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, I appreciate what they bring to the sport, because part of the fun of that sport is seeing can that team that got 8th last year jump up and get 6th? And then maybe there's a chance because they're going to have increased fun. Nobody in college athletics is like, hey, I'd like to see the ACC get more teams in the NCAA tournament. What a great story if the Missouri Valley could get 4 teams. No, you've got Brett freaking Yormark being like, we got data points and we need access. And, it's all this just garbage that nobody cares about anybody else in this business.
Everybody says everyone else is greedy while maintaining their own greed.
Yeah. And the Big 12 is guilty too.
Oh yeah. How long we said, hey, don't play Drake and you and I don't do that. Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's just the Big 12 didn't get us here. Jim Delaney and the Rose Bowl did.
Yeah,
but that's
Sankey. But whatever.
But then, like, the Big 12, like, we're the ones that gave Texas an out however many years ago, and they turned into the devil.
Yeah. Yeah. But you're right. You're right. It's self-created, which is maybe even more of a bummer.
I want to think, you know what else? Self-created is like when your basement gets flooded, or you don't create that because you just never know what life's going to bring you. But that's why you should have a trusted insurance man like our guy, Colin Newell, over at Farm Bureau Financial Services. Shout out to him. It was about a year ago that my basement got flooded, and it was an absolute disaster, and he made it all the better. It's good. That whole team did. I was really impressed with them. They had Service Master. It was a really impressive response by them. So
I remember there was a tornado warning in the middle of Service Master being there. So you're hanging out with the Service Master team.
Yeah, my family and Aiden were all over at your house taking cover, and
that was about a year ago now.
I'm not kidding you. This is actually a great story now that like nobody died.
Yeah.
But it was me and everybody from Service Masters who was at my house. None of them spoke English. Okay. And I didn't feel right. Like I kept saying, like, do you want to go to the basement? And they're like, they couldn't really understand me.
Yeah.
And the tornado whistles are going crazy, and they just keep going out there, and they did not stop working. And I was like, all right, well.
Didn't you offer them a beer?
Yeah, I offered them a beer, and they said no. I wasn't trying to get them in trouble. I was trying to be a good host. Colin Newell from Farm Bureau Financial Services. Shout out to him. Shout out to Kelderman Manufacturing, as always, for sponsoring the show. Go to kelderman.com. Also, our friend Andrew Chaplin, he is a real estate agent from Hunziker. He works out of Ames, but he can serve the entire state of Iowa. Love Chappie. Appreciate him. Got a text from him. He was at the WWE on Friday night, downtown Des Moines. I went to the UFC on Saturday night.
That
was
good
fun.
on the old television.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you for watching Elise and Cammy, by the way.
Oh, yeah, I didn't do a lot. I just turned on the fight. Said, hey, watch them slug it out.
It was fun. The fights were very average, I thought, but you know how big of a fan of that I am, and like it was really like a pinch. It was similar, and not as big of a deal, but it was similar to when NASCAR finally
I get it.
was in Des Moines or Newton last year. It was like, wow. But another example, Brent, of we make a huge, the UFC's here. We've got a professional franchise 30 miles to the north.
Yes, that ratings were way better than Major League Baseball and the NBA last year. Like, I don't think because we're used to it, we don't think about it.
I guarantee you, like, whatever the average for Iowa State's viewing was bigger than the UFC last night.
Oh, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. But that's your great point. And that's where I'm like, God, we got to kind of rearrange how we view this. And it's not just NIL. Like, it's not. It's a entertainment quality of life product for our state. And NIL is a part of the expenditure it costs.
Also, go buy a 6-pack of Ames Lager today with
right
our friends.
now. We need it.
West.
By the way. There's never a bad time to support the We Will Collective because, again, we,
Thank you.
You
know your wife sent me over a drink?
Well, I heard, I got a text, and then I'm here at my own house without one.
Well, your 7-year-old son just delivered me a whiskey sour. This is a little opening the door. Like, this is a wild pod tonight. This is our lives on Sundays in our neighborhood. Like, everybody just gets together and drinks, and then the kids just run wild.
Watch golf, the race.
Watch NASCAR and golf.
Go nuts. Welcome to Bondurant. That's the
Bondu,
best,
baby.
That's the best advertisement you could get for free.
Last but certainly not least, thank our friends at the Ivy College of Business at Iowa State. Love them. Longtime supporter of what we do. Shout out to Dean Spalding and his retirement.
They had the new dean interviews over the past couple of weeks, C-Dub.
Got any insight?
I've got a little insight. I'm not going to share at this moment, but I know it's going to be an impressive candidate.
Oh, okay. All right, let's go to Joe. Joe says, what do you see as the largest hurdle for each major Iowa State team next year? Football, basketball is what he put.
I like that.
Major hurdle, football is the defensive line.
Yes.
I think clearly is the defensive line.
That's number one and 1A.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basketball.
Like, can I say this respectfully and knocking on wood, health? Because
no, you're right.
If you get I don't want to put too much on Taman. I just spent 5 minutes talking about Taman, but if he gets hurt, it's going to be really hard for Iowa State.
What am I drinking? What is this?
Hopefully it's good. I mean,
it is.
My 7-year-old made it, so it's got to be.
It's a whiskey sour. Does it come from that concoction machine that you guys put together?
So I bought my wife.
It's good. It's pretty strong.
Well, it's strong. I bought my wife a Christmas gift that I was.
That ain't Cody Road in there.
No. I think that's 4
I
roses.
wouldn't have made that face if that was Cody Road.
But it's basically a Keurig for cocktails. Is a way to put it. I'm going to give him free advertising. It's called a Bartesian.
It's good. The second drink's a lot better than the first.
So, that's what we do in Bondurant, and that's why I bought my wife that because I knew I would enjoy it. Don't die on me here.
So for basketball, you're saying stay healthy.
Stay healthy. Yeah, I think. I mean, they're just, I think depth is okay, but Taman is just going to be critical because they don't have. There's not another Taman on the roster. There just isn't.
You're right. I'll go a different. I'm assuming. I'm going to take some liberties with Joe's question. Like, biggest hurdle, this isn't a hurdle, but to get to that, let's say the second weekend.
Yeah, let's get to the Elite Eight.
Is I think Joshua Jefferson's got to be that next, the improvement he made he was really good at the beginning of the year. He was way better in March. And if you can get that guy to even take another step, assuming you're right there with Taman.
Yes.
I'm going to assume Milan does what he does.
Yes.
But that's a hell of a weapon.
He has All-American potential.
Yes.
I really believe that. And he's got it can't be that he cannot have games heat up where you're right. There was times where it's just sometimes he's giving you 20. What was that UCF game? He gave you 30, 10, and 5.
That's the thing, but then he would just disappear
then he would turn
in the middle of those.
That game against Oklahoma State. I mean, just not good enough at times.
But I also
turn the ball
get it.
Over.
He hadn't played at that level before, and he didn't have an off season. So it all makes sense. Can you get that dude? And again, that's not a hurdle. But how do you get to that next spot? And we can analyze these guards and all this. Mason Williams, that we can do that. I still think with all those guys, it's kind of you're gonna get what you're gonna get. There's a certain level. To me, I could say the same thing about Milan. If we get second half Houston Milan for 90% of the season and Jefferson UCF, your ceiling is it just shot to the Final Four. If you can get that. Now, again, that's a big ask.
It is, but you look at, and I remind people to watch the BYU game in the Big 12 tournament, okay? And obviously the headliner was Curtis went nuts for a 10-minute period, where he scored 21 in 5 minutes. It was one of the cooler stretches that I've seen. But it was the second half that really impressed me and gave me some optimism for this upcoming year because Momcilovic and Jefferson took over that game from the post. Mm-hmm. They took that game over from the post, and I think that's where Iowa State can really lean into it this year is I understand everybody wants more three-point shooting, but Jefferson and Momcilovic, with their size and skill at their position, that's a really hard duo to guard. It's a really hard duo to guard, and I think both could be first-team All-Big 12 players. I really believe that. And when you got two guys 6'8" and above that can both shoot it and drive it and get to the free throw line, good grief, it's going to be really difficult to defend Iowa State.
Peter, a little bit on what we've already done, but we'll read it anyways. Is Taman a Big 12 Player of the Year in 2025-26? Will Otts lean on him to not only be a master facilitator, but someone who stuffs the stat sheet every game? Interesting question from Peter because not having Curtis and Keyshawn beside you changes your role.
Absolutely.
So I think he has a much better chance to be the Player of the Year this year compared to whatever he was going to have last year.
Consciously took a step back because they gave Keyshawn the point guard role. They really did. Iowa State did at the beginning. Now they may not say that, but Keyshawn had the ball all the time.
Yeah.
And then when Keyshawn got hurt, it was Curtis that had the ball all the time there for a while because Taman was not healthy. And again, his health dictates everything for that guy. I think he could be. I really do. Like, look at his numbers as a sophomore, and they were insane. Super efficient, and he just wasn't as efficient last year because he was hurt. So need Taman to get healthy, and I think, literally, I just said Momchilovich and Jefferson could be first-team All-Big 12 guys. Taman already has been. 3 of your starting 5, in my opinion, have All-Big 12 potential. That is a great starting spot for Iowa State.
Joe is in Denver, Colorado.
I love Denver.
Joe, appreciate your question. I'm just looking at it. We've already covered it. It's about the state stuff with Pollard.
Yep.
So appreciate that. Let's go to James. A recent ESPN article highlighted teams that analytically had good luck in 2024. Iowa State was one of them. The way I see it, the 2025 football season has a floor of 8 wins if Rocco stays healthy, Dominic Orange stays healthy, turnover luck stays top 60 nationally, and special teams doesn't regress to pre-2023 ineptitude. Do you agree? How confident are you that we can avoid the regression in these margins that we saw from 2020 to 2021? That's James in Mobile, Iowa.
Hey, James. James knows ball. That's exactly what happened last year.
Yeah.
It doesn't get talked about enough. In fact, could be a fun Rob Gray feature. How about Iowa State's improvement in special teams a year ago?
Yeah, very good, yeah.
My goodness. He's right. Iowa State turnover margin 22nd in the country. The year before, it was not nearly that way. I think, which is crazy, C-Dub, because we already talked about it. Iowa State forced 24 turnovers last year, and yet only had, 16 sacks? That's usually not the same situation. Usually it's pressure that causes turnovers there. So, agreed, the ball bounced the way of Iowa State a lot. That said, on the unlucky front, we talked to Rocco on Wednesday, and Iowa State had, 6 pick sixes, which is very high. Mm-hmm. So the defensive touchdowns the other way were extremely high. But special teams are going to be – it's going to be hard to maybe stay at that same level because Darian Porter was such a cheat code on the punt block for one, and among other things. So I think he nailed it. That's a great question, and that will dictate a lot of Iowa State's success. I agree. I think the floor should be 7, 7.5, 8, but you get a couple bounces your way, and turnover is such a big part of that. I do think 9, 10 is realistic.
I'm a little weirded out by the way the schedule sets up, though.
Yeah, that first game is huge. It's a big game.
Well, I'm going to read the whole thing, too. Even that, South Dakota game, I don't think they're going to lose. No, hear me out, though. That sucks. They're going to be good.
They'll be good, yeah.
For FCS.
Yes,
to have that travel, I just wish they had that week off, is what I'm saying. I don't think they're going to lose to South Dakota. That's not what I'm saying. But the schedule, starting with Kansas State across the Atlantic.
The country, yeah. Or the Atlantic, yeah.
Okay. And then you have to come back and you're going to play now granted it's your home opener and there should be energy, but that is letdown city against that team. Now, again, you should win no matter what, but they're going to be in the top 10 of FCS teams.
Okay. Yeah, I guess
and that's their opener.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's a former Iowa State quarterback that's their quarterback now.
Is Bowman still there?
Yeah. He's like a 6th-year guy.
Okay.
And then you get Iowa, and then you have to go to Arkansas State this year. So,
do you know who South Dakota also has?
No.
They've got a DeGene on the roster, Cooper's younger brother.
Of course. I guess my whole point is I'm a little hesitant saying 8 wins is the floor.
Yeah, no,
that's I hope they win more than that, but you also get Arizona State this year. Your schedule is more difficult. You have to go to Colorado. I'm guessing Oklahoma State's going to be better than they were a year ago. You have to go there in November.
They will. They can't be any worse.
The schedule's more difficult than it was a year ago. So
no doubt.
Take it for what it's worth.
Yeah, no, I think that's Iowa State obviously had a great year. Mm-hmm. Schedule was beneficial at times last year. Now, the injuries were very unlucky, and Iowa State battled through all that. So that wasn't good luck either. But from schedule-wise, it is harder. And then I thought the question was great. I mean, you're relying on some great points. Rocco's health, Dom's health, and the ball bouncing Iowa State's way turnover-wise. And the Iowa State did a really good job of not turning the ball over. Now, a couple times they did, it went the other way for 6, but that is such a huge part of the game. And that's where pressure can really dictate, and I'm hopeful that Iowa State's more pressure and tackles for loss could offset some of the balls that bounced their way on the turnover end last year.
The Dom Orange thing is critical, too. I mean, I just...
I remember writing an article 20 years ago about who are the most, not the most valuable players, but most players you can't afford to lose. I think I'm putting Orange number 1. Like, with the known commodities there, and maybe Rocco 1. I guess I don't know. I think they're pretty interchangeable, 1 and 2. Mm-hmm. Those are 2 monster chess pieces that you need on that board.
All right. Ethan says, this has probably been answered in the past, but what are some of your favorite Iowa State memories? Also, this may not be what you were looking for, but what are some ways fans can support you guys? Financially or otherwise, Iowa State and Cyclone Fanatic, outside of premium memberships, WeWell donations, and ticket sales. Ethan from Ames. The number one thing you can do is use our advertisers and tell them that you heard about them on Cyclone Fanatic. That's a big one.
Yeah.
And just sharing and spreading the word.
That was very, even the fact that you asked that question is very thoughtful.
Very nice.
That was very, very nice. For me, what would help me out is continuous donations that we will collective. Like I say, I don't say that lightheartedly, but it can only help going forward. And honestly, we got a big 6-week push we need to do here, and any help is appreciated.
Ethan, favorite memories. That is such a loaded question.
Yeah.
Like, I can't even wrap my mind around where to start with that after 20 years of doing all this.
I had a new one, and because I was just scrolling through my pictures, putting my kid to bed the other day, and it didn't dawn on me until like, man, that was really cool. When Iowa State beat UCF in the last second to go 7-0, and was there with my 2 kids and my wife, like that was like looking back, and it was kind of a surreal moment for everybody just because it was unexpected. Iowa State rallied there and kind of took a win from the depths of the losses. But that was one of those is full circle for me of wow. Here I was that grew up going to Iowa State games, and now Iowa State's 7-0 for the first time in my lifetime, and I'm watching with my 2 kids. So that was fun.
That's funny because our buddy Kyle Offenheisen, he asks, where do Iowa and UCF games from 2024 rank in your all-time favorite Cyclone football memories?
Huh. Well, Kyle and I think alike. It's my guy. It's up
that
there for
UCF
me.
game was really dramatic. We need to watch that some night again, because I rewatch the games like always the day after, but it's like it's different when I want to go back and watch the Miami Bowl game again.
Same.
Like there's a lot of these games that
even the Utah game was crazy.
You know what I did?
Back.
So this is crazy. You're one of the few sickos that'll remember this, but it's a piece of the book that I know I keep referencing, but I'm really in the thick of it right now.
Yeah, you're making progress, baby.
But I rewatched the Northern Illinois game from 2004.
Yes.
The other night when Meyer and Blythe and Flynn came in to relief. Brett wasn't playing great.
Did Carper have an interception that game or something?
No. Mosier did. Mosier and there were 2 pick sixes in that game.
Oh, it was
Robertson. I think?
Yeah, Matt Robertson. Yes.
And then there was like a block. LaMarcus Hicks blocked a field goal, I want to say. Like that. Point being, there's so many of these great memories that you have. It's all because of like the people you were with at the time, in my opinion. TJ winning his first Big 12 tournament was definitely a big one for me. Yeah. It's one of my favorite pictures of all of us on the court together. Definitely, I have so many great football memories. The Oklahoma State game on that Friday night.
Yeah. Which, by the way, enjoyed the boys had Shane Burnham on last week.
Oh, God, that was great.
It was well done.
I love their off-season show. It's my favorite.
Really fun
they just have the random guests on. We're talking about Woody and Mahoney, if you guys don't know. But, yeah.
That's
I don't know.
A good point. That's a really good point, Chris. It's fun now that there has been moments that have happened the last 9 months that we'll remember forever. Like that, you don't realize they're going to be those games until 10 years down the road, and you're like, oh yeah, I remember where I was when that happened. And there were probably half a dozen of those. The Iowa game's another great example. I mean, Conradi completely just knocking down a dagger from 57 on a kick of all things for Iowa State.
Your wife about whooped my ass at that because I didn't go. I refused to go to Iowa State.
Well, and I kicked her out of the house because I was like, I got to.
You kicked her out, and she was watching the game with me, and she was just beating on me. She was so excited, and she can hit.
Great question. There's been some fun ones, man.
I think, honestly, like, my favorite game that I was at, it was the 2009 Nebraska game in Lincoln.
Yeah.
The 7 turnovers.
And I'm still.
There wasn't a person in that stadium going into that game that thought Iowa State could win. We were down our nod. Like, Jeremiah Schwartz was our running back.
Yeah. Jerome Tiller.
That team sucked.
Jake Williams. I got to go to Oklahoma 17 for me.
Yeah.
So,
See, I wasn't there. So
I know.
if I would have been there,
one of those all-timers.
That's another
good
thing
question.
from the book. I don't want to give too much away, but my favorite chapter is how they built that defense in 10 days. And I'm like in the room with them, and it's funny because I was gonna like end it at the Oklahoma game. Like, you go from Texas to Oklahoma, but it's just like, wait a minute, like that game has to have its own chapter. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it changed everything for Iowa State football. That is unequivocally the biggest win in the history of Cyclone athletics.
I agree.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that win, because you could argue the Oklahoma State win was just as big in the moment.
Yes.
It was the fact that Iowa State followed that up with 3 more wins.
Correct. Texas Tech, TCU, and I forgot the third.
It was Kansas they shit pounded them in the rain.
That TCU game was one of the best home game atmospheres.
Oh my God, it was
ever.
electric. And that's when Matt did the post game.
Yeah. Bullshit teams go 6-6. Yeah.
That's 8 years ago now, everybody. Holy smokes. Fun to think
Getting
about.
old.
Fun to think about, though.
Getting old. All right. That's good for now. I got kids on my own tonight, and I gotta roll. But we are gonna get to more of these. These are great. We have a lot more of these we'll get to on Wednesday. I want to thank Wiffles Hybrids for sponsoring the show. No Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment today, but we still want to thank them, and I hope you guys get all your seed down. I would think you're done planting by now, but I hope so. And appreciate everybody for listening, watching, all of the above. We will be back on Wednesday. He's Brent Blum. My name is Chris Williams here on the Cyclone Fanatic Podcast Network.